If your business employs fewer than 50 full-time or full-time equivalent employees, and the healthcare plan that is offered to employees is self-insured, it is likely that you will be required to complete Forms 1095-B and 1094-B to be in compliance with the Affordable Care Act. In this lesson, we will walk you through the process of preparing these forms, and you will learn about the different options you have to submit them to the IRS and your employees at the end of the year. After viewing this lesson, you should be able to file your federal 1095 and 1094-B forms. There are a few steps you should take before printing or submitting your 1095 and 1094-B forms. First, review the year-end software update notice and install the year-end update. At the end of each year, Sage provides an update that includes changes to the software to accommodate any new reporting requirements for year-end. This notice will arrive by email and will contain details regarding what is changing and instructions on how to download and install it, which should always be done prior to submitting any year-end tax forms. Next, you will want to make sure that you are up to speed on the reporting requirements for the Affordable Care Act. This will ensure you prepare and submit the correct forms and information to the IRS and your employees. One of the factors that will help you determine which Affordable Care Act forms you will be required to submit and what information needs to be included on them is to determine the number of full-time and full-time equivalent employees at your company. There is a tool in payroll you can use to determine these counts. And once you know what your full-time and full-time equivalent counts are, and which forms you will be required to submit, you'll want to make sure that you are tracking the appropriate information in payroll so that when you are ready to prepare the forms, all of the necessary information will be included. This chart provides, at a glance, the Affordable Care Act forms and information that must be provided to employees and the IRS at the end of the year. In this lesson, we will walk through the process of preparing and submitting the 1095-B and 1094-B forms, which is required if your business offers a self-insured healthcare plan to employees and you are not an applicable large employer. Let's get started. In Payroll, go to Tasks, Federal, eFile, and Reporting, and select the 1095/1094-B form in the list. A description of the form appears here, and all you need to do to get started is confirm that the correct year is selected here, and then click Next. You can choose to remove employees if applicable. Keep in mind that only employees with an ACA exempt status of full-time or not exempt on the Employee Setup ACA Coverage tab will be included, so it is not necessary to remove employees here that have a status of exempt or not working, as they will already be excluded by default. Click Next to continue. And then click Generate. Read and then click OK on the 1095-B Company Information message. And the ACA Setup Wizard opens, which will guide you through the preliminary steps. In the first step, you will need to decide what you want to do. Your options are to test drive with just the first 25 employees, test drive with all employees, or process the actual 1095 and 1094-B forms. If you are simply here to test this out, use one of the test drive options, as this does not save any data, just allows you to try the feature out. If you are ready to prepare the official forms, select No Thanks, Start Processing My 1095/1094s, and then click Next. In the next step, confirm that the Federal Employer Identification Number for your business is pre-filled correctly, and then click Next. Your company information, in the upper portion of this window, should be included automatically, but you want to review it to make sure that all of the information is correct and make any changes if they are necessary. And in the lower portion of this window, enter the contact information for the person who is completing the 1095 and 1094-B forms. The company and contact information entered in the Company Information window will be reported in boxes 1 through 8 on the 1094-B form. Click Next to continue. Select the appropriate tax preparer type, then click Next, and now in the Employee and Covered Individual Social Security Numbers window, indicate how you would like the Social Security numbers for employees and their covered individuals to be displayed on printed copies sent to the employees. While preparing the forms, the full Social Security numbers will be displayed on screen, but when the actual copies of the forms for the employees are printed, it will use the options selected here to determine how the Social Security numbers should be displayed. For employees, you have the option to show the full Social Security number, or truncate it using asterisks or X's to show only the last 4 digits. If you select the truncate the employee's Social Security number, the same choice will be automatically selected for the covered individuals below. Once you have selected the options you would like to use, click Next, which brings you to the final window in the ACA Setup Wizard. If you track payroll data for a single EIN in multiple master files, the system has the ability to combine them in the process so that all of your 1095 and 1094B information can be compiled in a single session. In this example, all payroll data is stored in a single file. So select No, I use a single data file for this EIN. To view a demonstration showing how to use the Merge feature to consolidate payroll data stored in multiple locations for the same EIN for tax reporting purposes, view the lesson titled Merge Payroll Data for Consolidated Reporting in the Year-End Anytime Learning subscription, available on sageu.com. Now click Next, and the 1095/1094B Preparer window opens, which will guide you through the remaining steps to prepare and submit your tax forms. Before you start, take a moment to get familiar with the Preparer window. At the top of the window, you will see a status bar, which lets you know what step in the process you are on, and the instructions tell you what information you should be reviewing during that step. For example, this is step 1 of 4, and the instructions say Verify Employee Information. In this step, you will want to confirm the basic information, such as Social Security numbers, addresses, etc., are correct for each employee. More on that in a moment. When you have completed a step, you can use the Next button at the top to move to the next step, or if you ever need to go back to a previous step, you can use the Previous button. On the right, notice the side panel that contains some helpful information. At the top of the panel, you will see tips that you can read through. The tips displayed here provide helpful information regarding the use of the Preparer window and information that must be provided to ensure your forms are complete and accurate. You can toggle between the different tips using the forward and back buttons here. And if you would like to read more about any of the tips displayed here, you can click the More Information link, and a website will open in your internet browser that contains the additional information. There is also a general help option available, which you can access by clicking the Help button here. When you click it, a website will open in your internet browser, and you can use the links below or the search box to find the information you need to continue processing your forms. Another area in the sidebar to keep an eye on is the lower portion, where the Preparer will display any errors that are encountered as you are working in the window. If any errors are detected, this section will include information about the errors and what you need to do to fix them. You cannot proceed to the next step until the errors that are listed are resolved. In this case, there is some required information for an employee that must be provided before you can proceed to step 2. We will look at how to review and correct these errors in just a moment. If at any time you would like to shrink or hide the sidebar, you can do so by clicking the arrow button here. And to bring it back, just click the arrow again. Now let's talk about the information that is displayed in the main area of this window. All of your employees will be listed in rows in the Employee Information Grid, with all of the information that is needed to complete the 1095B forms in the columns that are labeled across the top. When an employee is selected in the Employee Information Grid, the information for that employee is also displayed in the lower portion of the window. The lower portion of the window is split into 2 tabs, with the information for the employee on the Employee Entry tab, and the information for any covered individuals that is used to complete Part 4 of the 1095B forms on the Covered Individuals tab. The preparer will guide you through the process of reviewing all of the information that will be reported on the forms. So it is best to focus on just the information that is highlighted in yellow during each step so you don't miss anything. To move between employees, you can click anywhere on the row for the employee you want to view. Or, you can move from one employee to the next using the forward and backward buttons in the lower portion of the window. As you are reviewing the employee information, if you are unsure about the information that should be included in any of the fields, you can hover your mouse over the field, and a tooltip will open, providing details about the information required in the field. If you attempt to move to the next step before correcting all of the errors that have been detected, a message will appear to let you know that there are still errors that must be corrected before you can proceed. The errors that must be addressed will be displayed in the sidebar on the right, and the fields they are located in will be highlighted in red in both the employee information grid as well as in the lower portion of the window. If you hover your mouse over an error in the sidebar, more information about the error appears. And the errors work like hyperlinks, so if you have multiple errors, you can click on them, and the focus of the information in the main areas of the Preparer window will change to the employee and the field that the error pertains to. Errors can be corrected in the Employee Information Grid or in the lower portion of the window. However, making corrections in the 1095-1094B Preparer window will not update the information in Payroll itself. So in most cases, it is best to close out of the Preparer and fix the information in your payroll software rather than making changes here. If changes are made anywhere in the Preparer window, make sure to remember to update the information in Payroll when you are done. The employee in this example is missing the zip code, so to fix it, click into the zip code field and enter it. And now that it is corrected, notice that the error is removed from the list of errors on the right in the sidebar. There are still more errors that must be corrected before you can proceed. Click on the next error you would like to view, and notice that the focus in the main window has changed to the employee this error pertains to. This employee is missing all of their address information, and since that information is required on the forms, it must be entered before you can proceed. Go ahead and enter the missing information. As each error was corrected, it was removed from the list in the sidebar. And now that all of the errors have been corrected, when you click Next Step, the Preparer advances to Step 2 of 4, where you will need to verify the policy origin code for each employee. The policy origin code is assigned under Setup, Employees, ACA Coverage in Payroll, and is reported on line 8 in Part 1 of the 1095B form. Like the employee information in Step 1, changes can be made, if necessary, in the lower portion of the window, or up above in the Employee Information Grid. But again, remember that changes made here will not update the information tracked in your payroll software. So if you do make any changes, make sure to remember to update the information in Payroll afterwards. Once you have confirmed the policy origin code for each employee is correct, click Next to move to Step 3 of 4, where you need to verify that the covered individual's information for each employee is correct. Notice that the Covered Individuals tab for the employee is now displayed automatically in the lower portion of the window. The first covered individual listed is the employee, and any additional covered individuals and the information entered for them under Setup, Employees, ACA Coverage, Employee Dependent Detail in Payroll will be displayed below. The information you see in this step will be reported in Part 4 of the 1095B forms. For each covered individual, the 1095B form requires either the Social Security number or date of birth, but not both. So if you have entered both on the employee setup, It will use the Social Security number and leave the date of birth field blank. The checkboxes to the right indicate which months they were covered under the healthcare plan. If they were covered for the entire year, the All box is selected. Otherwise, only the months they were covered will be marked. You can make changes as necessary, and you can even add covered individuals or remove them using the buttons here. But again, remember that these changes will not be reflected in the payroll records unless you remember to make them there as well. Once you have verified that the covered individual's information for each employee is correct, click Next. To move to Step 4 of 4 in the Preparer, where you can verify employee electronic delivery information. If any of your employees have opted to receive an electronic copy of their 1095-B form, select the Electronic Only checkbox and confirm that the correct email address is displayed. If not, you can enter it here. This option should only be selected for employees who have opted to receive an electronic copy instead of a printed copy of the 1095-B form. In the next step, you will decide how you want to submit your 1095 and 1094-B forms to the employees and the IRS. If you choose the complete e-filing service, each employee that is selected as electronic only will receive an electronic copy of this form and will not receive a paper copy. There is a significant cost savings in the complete e-filing service package for employees who will receive their forms electronically. More on that in a moment. There is an electronic 1095 consent form available in Payroll under Tasks, Federal eFile and Reporting that you can print and provide to any of your employees who would like to receive electronic copies of the 1095 to complete and sign. When you are ready, click Next to open the 1095 1094-B printing and e-filing options window. In this window, you must indicate how you would like to submit the 1095 and 1094-B forms to the IRS and your employees. The complete e-filing service includes printing and mailing the physical copies of the forms to employees, or providing the electronic copies to those who have opted to receive their forms in an electronic format, as well as the filing electronically of the forms 1095 and 1094-B with the IRS. If you prefer to print and mail these forms on your own, or would like to choose a combination of printed and e-filed forms, select Other Options and indicate which forms you would like to print versus those you would like to e-file. For example, if you would like to print and mail all of the copies on your own, select Print My Employee 1095-Bs, clear the option for e-filing, and select Print Federal Copy 1095-Bs/1094-B. If you select the complete e-filing service, or to e-file the Federal 1095, 1094-B forms here, a login screen will appear when you click Next, where you will be prompted to enter your username and password for e-filing with Atrix. You will then be prompted to specify a date for the submission to go through. If you would like to know more about the process of e-filing, click the More Info link here at the top of the window. In this example, the options to print the forms were selected. Clicking Next will start that process. One last window appears that explains the benefits of the complete ACA e-file service. If you have changed your mind and would prefer to e-file your forms, you can select Yes here. If not, click Next. The last step is to review and confirm the forms that will be printed. The list displays all forms and how they will be processed in the Forms Viewer. Make sure you review the action list for accuracy. You can also print a copy of the action list for your records by clicking the Print button. To start printing the forms, click Next. The Forms Viewer window opens and displays the first copy that it will print. In this case, it is the federal copy of the 1094-B form. The Forms Viewer works in the same manner as any other tax form created in Payroll under Tasks, Federal eFile and Reporting, or State eFile and Reporting. You can see how many pages will print and scroll between them using the buttons in the top left. The wording in the Report Steps tells you what to do, and up at the top it will show you how many reports you have to print and which one you are currently looking at. When you are ready to print the form, click Print Final. Some tax forms require specialized paper, while others can be printed on standard printer paper. Each time you click Print Final, a warning will appear to let you know which type of paper to use for the copy currently being printed. In this case, this copy should be printed on plain paper. Once you have confirmed the correct paper is loaded in your printer, click OK, and the Printer option window appears, where you can change any printing preferences as necessary. When you are ready to print the form, click OK, and after confirming that it printed properly, click Next Step. To move to the next report in the Forms viewer. In this case, it is the federal copies of the 1095-B forms. Notice this one has 52 pages. There will be a 1095-B for each employee that was included in the 1095-1094-B Preparer window. You can use the forward and back buttons in the top to move between pages if you want to view each one. And when you are ready, click Print Final. Review the paper warning to ensure you have the correct paper loaded in the printer, then click OK, and when you are ready, click OK again to print the forms. And after confirming that they printed properly, click Next Step. To move to the next report, the Employee 1095-B forms. These copies should be distributed to the employees. When you are ready to print the forms, click Print Final. And notice the paper warning has changed. These copies that are distributed to the employees must meet certain requirements, and therefore we recommend that you use specialized forms. For more information about the paper requirements for the Employee 1095-B copies, see the article titled, "Which Forms Should I Order for Affordable Care Act Reporting?" in the Technical Support Knowledge Base. Once you have confirmed the correct paper is loaded in the printer, click OK, and click OK again to print the forms, and then click Next Step to move to the next report. Report 4 of 5 is the Employee 1095-B notice that is required to be included when 1095-B forms are mailed to employees. This information may be included on the back of the specialized forms that you used in the previous step, but if not, this step will allow you to print a single copy of this notice that you can make copies of if you need it, so that you can include it with the copies of the 1095-B forms that you will be distributing to each employee. To print this notice, click Print Final. Make sure the printer is loaded with the correct paper, and then click OK, and when you are ready, click OK again to start printing. Then click Next Step to move to the last report. Report 5 is the Employer 1095-B, or in other words, the record copies of the 1095-B forms for the employer to keep. To print copies for your records, click Print Final. Make sure the printer is loaded with the correct paper, and then click OK, and when you're ready, click OK to start printing. And finally, click Next Step, and that's it. The forms have all been printed and will be waiting for you on the printer. The 1095-1094-B History File Options window appears, showing the status of all of the completed actions. It also provides you with some options on the right to reprint completed 1095-1094-Bs, eFile or print incomplete 1095 or 1094-Bs, which in this case does not apply since everything that was required was completed, make corrections, or start over. If you need to use any of these available options, select one and click Next. Otherwise, click the Close button to exit from the ACA Preparer. Now that you have completed this lesson, you should be able to complete the filings of your federal 1095-B and 1094-B forms.
Sage offers several ways for you to interact and get the answers you need quickly. Get help from others with similar questions in a Sage City community, find answers in our knowledge base, or take an online course on Sage University.